Hi everyone, today on the Mandy Effect, I'm joined by Kim Rossi. She's the founder of Obstacles to Opportunities. She's a leader in strategic fundraising, and she's someone who's deeply committed to turning real life challenges into meaningful, measurable impact. With over 30 years of experience in nonprofit, business, and media, she's raised significant funding for mental health and community initiatives, all while building connections between purpose and people. Today, we're going to learn what it truly takes to turn obstacles into opportunities. Kim, welcome to the Mandy Effect.
Hey, thank you for having me. As I said earlier, I don't even think you need me here. Like, you captured just about everything that I have been doing in my life for the last, oh gosh, in a few days, it'll be 50 years.
That's fantastic.
I appreciate the invitation. And I actually have watched a lot of the podcasts that you've done and admire all of the guests you've had so far.
Thank you.
They have everybody has a uniqueness, a specialty, a quality, a superpower, I guess if you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's inspiring to watch. And I hope that somebody can pull something, even just one thing from our conversation today.
There's going to be so many things. I could not wait to bring you on this show. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us who you are beyond the founder of Obstacles and Opportunities.
Yeah, that is the most new part of my life. So born and raised in Niagara Falls, and great parents and good family upbringing, and all of it was pretty, Italian background and somewhat strict, but sometimes not. I wanted to be a lawyer as a child. My uncle was a judge. I have an aunt that's a judge, and they were lawyers and doctors in our family. Yeah. And so that's what I thought I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I thought, I can argue. My parents told me I was really good at arguing. I got thrown out of class all the time for talking.
Yeah.
So it seemed appropriate until I got to grade 12. And I know I've jumped from like childhood to grade 12, but it was really impactful. In grade 12, I took an English media class with Mr. DeRoche, and chapter 12 was about radio. And I closed the book and said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be on the radio.
Okay.
And that was as much thought as I gave.
Mm-hmm.
And I enrolled, and I went to Mohawk College and graduated from the broadcast journalism program. I felt I had really found my place. Now, funny enough, when I was younger, we would go to the States to party a lot. And I was very young, not of legal age to be in the States.
Yeah.
But on the fake ID that I made and had laminated at Blockbuster Video, it said that I was a graduate of St. Jerome College in broadcast journalism.
Oh, wow.
So I guess it was meant to be even before I realized that it was going to be the first part of my career. And I say like it was stage one of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I had some really great teachers along the way. So Mr. DeRoche was one. Mr. Navaroli was like our Mr. Holland's opus in school. And then when I got to college, Sue Prestige, who worked for the CBC for many years, was really like my guiding light. And she's the one who, put me into a place early on, exposed me to an industry and said, this person has potential.
Yeah.
And that led to my very first radio job in Toronto at the largest news talk station in the country, News Talk 1010. And really my radio dream career started before I even graduated from college.
That's fantastic. And I love the whole concept of good educators, right? I think there's so many educators that make such a difference in a child's life. And they're truly the ones that start at helping us believing in ourselves, right? And kind of seeing that vision turn into reality. So talk to me about the radio host journey that you had, how you got into it, what kind of a channel was it, and sort of what were the topics that you were covering?
So I focused on radio. As much as I love television, I felt like the immediacy of radio was more suitable for me. I didn't have to worry about hair, makeup, clothes. I could just hit the on button, and whatever the news is that we had to deliver, I was right there in that moment. It was quick. Cut-ins for radio happened on phones that were huge brick phones at the time, or pay phones, or an office bureau phone.
Yeah.
It's so funny now, like how far we've come. Like we didn't have internet when I started in radio. So we relied on news feeds to be able to get our information. It was really interesting. Or we'd listen to other news publications to be able to get stories for our own radio business. So as I mentioned, the first job was at CFRB 1010. I was the summer beat reporter. There were 300 candidates. They got down to 10, interviewed us all, and 3 of us were selected.
Wow.
And that really opened every single door for me in radio from there on in. I didn't need anything more than having CFRB 1010 on my resume. when the summer was done, they offered me a part-time role on the weekends. And I said, I'll be back. I'm going to go and get good and come back. So I went to a small market, Brockville, Ontario, between like Kingston and Ottawa, I would say is the easiest way to kind of describe where it is. It's about an hour from Kingston. Small town. Everyone that was there in radio was not from there. We were there to get good and get out. That was kind of the mantra.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, I wasn't doing as well as I thought I would be doing. And my boss at the time gave me a bit of a reality check. Like, hey, I need you to do more. I need you to be more. I need you to be more agile in this role. I need you to think differently. And that was kind of the wake up call I needed to realize, wow, this is not an easy job or role. And I might have a great voice for radio, but I need to have all the other parts too. So I really focused in on my reporting style, listening more, talking less. And that's really where my curiosity built to learn more about other people and to interview more strategically. So yes, do your research, but then listen and guide, like kind of like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so I was in Brockville for 10 months, came back to Niagara to work at CJRN 710. From there, went to Toronto, then back to Niagara. I got fired when I was in Toronto. My program director actually said, like, do you not like it here? And I responded with, no, I absolutely hate it here. I don't want to work here another minute.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, then.
Time to go.
Time to go.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, wow.
What just happened?
So I do believe when you're let go from a job, not in all cases, but in the case here, I wasn't loving it and they weren't loving me either.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a fit for anybody. And it really checked my ego. It was way, way back when I was like 20 years old. So I went home. I worked at Queen's Landing full time for a couple of months. And then I got a call for an audition for a morning show in Ottawa.
Okay.
And so they brought us all into Toronto, these guys from Regina and me, and we met and they throw you in a room. And they say, be funny.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's chemistry. And they kind of let us go for about 30 minutes and then came in and said, we want to offer you a position as a morning show team. So we went off to Ottawa. My name wasn't Kim. It was changed to Robin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the show was Bill, Bob, and Robin, 106.9 The Bear.
Okay.
Classic rock radio, morning show. Morning shows are wake up time, 3:45 a.m.
Oh, wow.
It's very, very early. And I did mornings for about 14 years of the 20-year career.
Okay.
You work with some great people in radio and you work with some really nasty people in radio. And as a woman in radio, sometimes it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Bill and Bob, which is actually Bill and Jeff, were amazing people to work with. It was a true team. A couple of years later, I got a call to come to Toronto to do afternoon drive with Carter Brown.
Okay.
And so that was huge. That was going from medium market to large market. Like Toronto is the biggest market in Canada when it comes to radio. Oh, yeah. So I was doing afternoons with Carter. Carter didn't work out. They moved Steve Anthony from the morning show into the afternoons with me. Best show of my life.
Oh, wow.
He's still one of my closest friends to this day. If anyone was a Much Music fan, they would know Steve from Much Music. He was a VJ, one of the first.
Yeah.
And turned into an amazing radio personality and TV personality. His energy is contagious.
Yeah.
He's open, he listens, and he's kind. And he's also funny and brilliant. So we did that show together for quite a few years. And then I ended up taking a transfer to Montreal, where I did a morning show there for 8 years.
Okay.
And that's where my daughter was born. And that's where, I got married when I was out there. And it was a great part of my life. But, after 8 years, it was time to come back home to Niagara. Yeah. And so I've been back now for 16 years.
Wow. That's amazing. That's beautiful. I want to go back a little bit to the time that, you kind of started your journey and then you and your boss both agreed that, this wasn't a great fit. You weren't having a good time.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about, what are some lessons that you learned? What were some of the discoveries that you made about yourself? Or did you just kind of boom, okay, this didn't work out. Let's move on to the next thing. But at the same time, I think sometimes people end up staying in positions where they're so unhappy, but yet they're so scared or afraid to step out of something that could be so much bigger and better for them. Talk to me about that journey. I know that's a handful of questions, but
I've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first radio job was $16,000 and I thought I had won the lottery.
Yes. I can resonate with that.
And I'm like, I have a salary, couldn't afford rent. It got tight sometimes, but I've never taken a job for the money. I've always taken it for the project or for what it is or the potential of what it could be. So I always caution people to be careful about taking something for wealth alone, because the monetary reward is great, but if the other parts aren't there, it's not going to work. You're not going to be happy in that job. And I mean, I always said, go to where the joy is.
Yeah, for sure.
So if I don't have joy in where I'm at, and in that position in radio, my ego was out of control, possibly. I thought I was, bigger and better than I was.
You're also young, right?
I was young. They wanted me to do things that I didn't want to do. And I pushed back on that. It was political. It was religious. It was a couple of things, but I also didn't handle it well. So instead of having, better communication skills, which you think radio people should have, I could have communicated that better. I could have, instead of letting it blow. So I learned a couple of lessons. I learned to keep my ego in check a little. Everyone has ego. Like let's dispel that right now. Some people think they don't have an ego. Everybody has a bit of ego, some more out of control than others. So I needed to check that a little bit. It gave me a good reset. But I also have survivor skills. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't have this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up the phone and call Queen's Landing and say, hey, I can work full time now and not just weekends. Because believe it or not, the radio job did not pay enough. So weekends were spent at Queen's Landing where I could make great money. And that's what it was. And I had fun there and I had great people there. So survivor skills for sure. Not every job is going to work out, and that's okay. I really do, like you, hate when I hear that people are not happy in their job. They can't wait for retirement. I'm like, oh my gosh, but like this part of your life is so huge and it does impact all the other things in your life. So if life is a pie and we have a few slices, so maybe one is home life and one is your self-care, your job is another one. It's not often the case where all of the pie is totally neat and tidy in the pan. Sometimes there's a messy slice. And as long as there's only one, you can't have, but it never works that way. Like if the job isn't going well, you're bringing it home, you're voicing what's wrong and what should change and all of those things to your family and those relationships. And now they're impacted by it. They can't help you. They can't change anything for you. So so if I answered the basket of questions.
Yes, you did. You have this hustler mindset, which I love, right? The survival mode. Talk to me about that. I guess sometimes people are just naturally like that. I'm always, I've always been the hustler mode, but I've also been in situations where I had to sort of buckle up and be ready for what's next. How did that mentality happen? Is it being the Italian family background that you come from, or is it just how you've always been since you were younger?
In therapy, I learned that I'm a project manager. So that's the role I take on when someone needs help or support. I don't feel it. I project manage it. And so while I'd like to lean into other parts that are probably more emotionally robust, that's who I am. So whether it's dealing with, someone's cancer diagnosis or like trying to solve an issue of why this isn't working out. And maybe that led to the business down the line, but that project management mode is what I go into. So I got fired from my job and I pick up the phone, a payphone, and I make a phone call to, a few of my contacts to say, hey, I just been let go. And they said, don't worry about it. Just go home, do your thing, and we'll call you. And like having kind of that network of people that you can trust in is helpful. I also always go back to the saying of, if this is the worst thing that happens to me in my whole life, I'm going to be fine. And while everybody can't maybe relate to that, or they feel they've had more hardships than others, and of course that's the case for so many people, I kind of lean into that a little bit to help me drop my shoulders and not get so stressed. And everything's temporary. Like I'm temporarily out of work. I'm temporarily in business. I'm temporarily like all of these things, right? In a relationship. So I've kind of taken some solace in doing that and having those sort of, I guess, mantras or routines that I'll say to myself.
I love that. I love the whole idea of a hustler mentality and moving on to the next thing and sort of learning from your experiences, right? Sure. Like you said, if this is the worst thing, like I can't only imagine what's coming next. And it's always, when one door closes, another one opens, right?
Sure.
That's fantastic. One question I do want to ask you is, talk to me about your experiences while you were doing radio. The behind the scenes that people don't get to see. For anyone that's looking to get into radio, I'm sure, certain things with time have changed, but certain things certainly don't change. Sort of like behind the closed doors, your journey and the experiences that you had.
You're working with some really dynamic personalities, good and bad. I mean, there's a reason people are in radio. Certain people were, I don't know. It's funny when I think back to some of the hosts I worked with, they weren't the most popular in school. They were maybe a little bit nerdy, a little bit quirky. They had something to say, but no voice or platform in which to express themselves. They were a middle child. Like there's so many different components that go into, who these radio people are.
Yeah.
For me, I was just, like I said, talking and curious and the rest of it. And I fell in love with it when I read a chapter on it. I was always kind of mystified by it. The behind the scenes, like there's nothing glamorous about radio stations. Like most of them are pretty like gross looking. You go in and it's pretty basic. There's a board and there's a couple of microphones. And when you're starting out, you're usually opping your own board. So hitting all the buttons and firing the commercials. Back then we had like actual like tracks and carts to fire the commercials. Now it's all computerized, but, and a couple of microphones and some headphones. And you had your own headphones and you had your own mic sock because you're talking and the rest of it, and there's germs, but very early mornings, lots of preparation. When you're doing a bit, as we call it, or a break that lasts a couple of minutes, there's a lot of prep that goes into it.
For sure.
And any radio consultant will tell you that, a good radio talent builds out their show before the show even happens. And they may change bits and park bits, etc. But they know they're in, they know they're middle, and they know they're out. And timing is of the essence. You can't just talk for endless amounts of time. You're in and out in a minute and a half. Talk radio, you have longer breaks. You have, I think, about 60 breaks in a week for talk radio, which is hard to fill and hard to always come up with that great content. So oftentimes, not anymore, but they used to, talk radio, they would have producers that would help them line up those interviews and get those guests lined up to work with the show host. I had a radio host who liked the temperature at like 60 degrees. So we would be in there in coats when he was sitting there in shorts. He was the main guy. He was most comfortable that way. So we just had to bend. I hated being cold all the time when I went into work, whether it was summer, winter, it didn't matter. Like that kind of stuff. I had another host that said, you can talk when you raise your hand and then we will call on you and then you can talk.
Oh, wow.
Like, so there was some of that afterward I'm like, well, that was terrible. That wasn't kind.
Yeah.
But they had a specific way that they wanted to run their show and they were more senior. And so I just had to toe the line, like it or not.
For sure.
So in radio, there were not a ton of opportunities where I felt like I was a lead voice. I felt like I was a voice in a collection of others. Eventually the role wasn't rewarding for me anymore. I felt like what I was doing was vapor. I don't know that I was changing anyone's life. I couldn't see impact. I couldn't point to something and say, I helped do that.
Yeah.
So I would volunteer my time for 2 causes every year. I'd select 2 and whatever they needed me to do, MC their event, talk about them on the radio, get them in for an interview, would do whatever I could to help them. And then the next year I'd choose another 2 causes. And so I could say no to the others because you get lots of requests, but I could really dedicate myself to those. I was always a volunteer and I never really realized it until I got into nonprofit. And looking back, my Aunt Nancy, who ran the Niagara Falls chapter of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, said, yeah, you've been volunteering and fundraising since you were 10 years old.
Yeah. It's just a matter of recognizing, right?
Yeah. Volunteering in parades and collecting change bubbles from the Shoppers Drug Mart and helping count coins. And so as I found that radio was less and less rewarding for me, didn't matter what station I was at, what market I was in, what show I was on, or who the co-hosts were.
Yeah.
I knew something had to give. And it was when I was in Spain with my husband that I woke up one morning and said, I'm going to quit when I get home. And he said, yeah, sure. Whatever you want to do, I'll support you.
Yeah.
And he says, well, what are you going to do next? I said, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. So there was no plan.
Yeah.
There was just, this isn't serving me anymore. What am I going to do that will serve me? And then it took a little bit of time, but eventually that led to the world of nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. So I want to take you back to when you said you were in Montreal and then you had your daughter. Talk to me about that journey and how that kind of brought you back to Niagara and the work that you started doing from that point on.
Danica was a beautiful blessing. When we got married, we didn't talk about having children. I wasn't really I'm not going to say a fan. That sounds terrible. I wasn't really a fan of children. I just didn't ever have that. I never pictured a wedding. I never pictured kids when I was younger. It was just not something I thought about. Mm-hmm. So getting married was like a bit of a jump that I didn't think I would take.
Yeah.
And then deciding on having a child, mm-hmm. I'm thankful it was her.
Yeah.
Because I only wanted to have one, and she was a gift from the start. And we were in Montreal, so there was no family, just friends. Mm-hmm. We had a little system. We found a great babysitter, and we found some great friends that were like family. And, we took vacations all together and separately. And it was a really good life. And then my husband got a job opportunity back in Niagara. He was not from here.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's great for you, but I'm not leaving mornings in Montreal to go to Niagara to do radio. Like, it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, the projection of your career in radio is not go smaller, it's go bigger.
Go bigger.
I did small. So I thought, well, what's the plan B? And he says, well, there isn't one.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And at the time he was making a lot more money than I was. So his career took precedent over mine. And I thought, I'll just figure it out. Well, so I transferred this way, and he did too. And he was running radio stations. So we're in the same business. And I knew within a few weeks that I would fulfill the contract. I would do my very best. And then I would figure out something else.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I left. I just left. I taught at Niagara College in the broadcasting program for quite some time. I was there about 4 years. Loved talking with first and second year students and teaching them the fundamentals of radio and writing and current events and how we got to these current events and what happened in history. But even that became tiresome for me. And when I see students that I taught that are in the industry now, I'm super proud of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see potential in those students as you're teaching them. You can see who's got the drive and the grit. Because it does take that. Yeah. Like, to get a job in radio now is harder than when I was in radio. And I drove across country dropping off cassette tapes and letters to news directors at random radio stations. Like, that's how I applied for jobs.
Wow.
I probably sent out 100 letters and cassette tapes using my full legal name at the time, which got changed many years ago.
So how did you get into, so you're back in Niagara, you're still doing radio, you started teaching, and then you kind of wanted to explore a little bit more. So how did you get into the nonprofit work?
It was a real accident. It was a true accident. So when I was in Montreal, we would interview Pauline Yuskevich, who was at the Royal Victoria Hospital Foundation. And she's a lively, lovely, vivacious person who was fundraising. And she and I became friends. Like, we interviewed her once, and I tell you, I go to lunch with this woman, I'm exhausted by the end of it. We laugh so hard and we have such a great time. So she called me one day and said, hey, I'm moving to Niagara. And I'm like, amazing. Because I hated that I had to leave all of my friends, and she was one of them. I said, what are you going to be doing? She goes, I'm going to run the hospital foundation. I said, amazing. And she says, and I'm going to hire you.
Oh, wow.
I said, for what? And she said, to be my major gifts officer. I go, I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
Honestly, I had no idea. And she goes, well, it's fundraising for a great project. It's networking, it's connections, it's community, it's all the things you're really good at. So when we were talking earlier off camera about being able to see the traits in people and then give them the skills to do the actual job, she saw that I had all the traits to be a really great fundraiser. And so I thought about it for a while, like a couple of months. And I thought, what have I got to lose? So I took the job, and within 3 weeks, I was in love.
Wow.
In love with this work. And really, fundraising is about finding an amazing project that you have and finding a donor who would love to be a part of it. Or finding out what the donor's mission is and then aligning it, their mission, to what you're doing. So we often think of, this is the organization and this is our mission and buy into it. But really, it's about the donor's mission and what they want to accomplish, and then finding a project that matches for them.
Okay.
That's success.
That's amazing. So talk to me about that journey, right? Like you said, finding a donor, having a mission, and then sort of aligning it. But what is it sort of, I always say, that touches your soul that makes you want to be a part of that project? In the beginning, you were learning, right? You kind of fell into it, but I'm sure there came a time where you were able to pick and choose, right? So talk to me about that.
Well, it's funny. It took me a long time to leave radio because I actually said to myself, like, what else am I qualified to do other than talk on the radio?
Yeah.
And found out shortly after a lot of things.
Yeah.
Communication is really the root of everything. Whenever I'm talking to organizations, I look at their communications plans and efforts before I look at anything else.
Yeah.
Like before I look at how they're fundraising or their methods or their different departments or avenues of fundraising, I look at their communications. Like, so, being on the side of media that I was, I know what I need to see in order to pick up a story or to be interested or cover that material. And so if you're not moving me as a media professional with your communications, it's going to be harder for you to fundraise what you're fundraising for, because now you have to start from scratch. They don't know about you. The awareness and the education and the mission has to be built from the ground up.
Yeah.
And so, communications is really key to all of that. So that first fundraising job was an exercise in communications for me.
Okay.
And I loved what the hospital was doing. And I could fundraise for tangible things, which I was missing in radio. So there was equipment or there was departments, and I could have donors meet with doctors to share exactly what they're looking for and why they're looking for it. I always believe that the warmest lead in any relationship takes the lead.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be my gift that I secured. It could be the gift that was secured because so-and-so introduced me to so-and-so, or this board member had a conversation with someone they know and I provided all of the materials for them to have that great conversation.
Yep.
Like that to me is really what effective fundraising is about. It's not territorial. It's not about getting credit. That being said, we're raising a lot of money and you don't bonus off of it. There's no commissions paid. So the leadership team has to be there with the applause and the accolades to say, you did a great job, or we're able to do this because you facilitated that. Like there has to be that type of gratitude for the team that's working there. Fundraising can be thankless. And I know we say we're not in it for the thanks and the accolades and the rest of it, but I mean, just common graciousness and courtesy is definitely something that needs to be overdone in nonprofit, just because, like I said, the monetary things can't be there. We're doing it for the impact and we're making communities better and healthier and stronger. But we're also people that need, like we said, everyone's got a little bit of an ego. So sometimes you need your ego stroked as well to know that you've done a great job.
So what about, I'm sure there's times where you find someone who's got an idea, right? But the funding isn't there. How do you then go out and find the money or the donor that aligns well with that project?
So I made it a habit when I was at Pathstone to meet with the teams that were on the agency side. So they were the ones that were facilitating the mental health work, whether it was a brief counseling program or a group or walk-in clinics that we wanted to open. And it was really about finding out what the needs are. Like for you to do the best job possible by the clients who are children, what do you need? What do you need funding for? Do you need more people? Do you need more infrastructure? Do you need things like tangibles? Oftentimes in mental health, you don't need tangibles. You just need people. You need great people and you need space, great, effective, warm, comforting spaces to do that work. So I found that starting from there to find out what the needs were was sort of my base. And then we could write cases for support. So this is what the problem is. This is what the solution is. And this is how you can be part of it. That's basically how you would deliver a case for support to a donor. You kind of get to know the people that are in your network that are already donating to the organization and what inspires them and what motivates them and what they like. And sometimes you don't know, like you have to have a conversation with them to say, like, where are your interests? What other causes do you like supporting? What really moves you? Where do you want to see impact? And what does impact feel like for you? Is it volunteering? Because investing time is just as important as investing dollars. My partner likes to donate and I like to volunteer. Like we're different, but we still want to make an impact on organizations. So that's kind of the method. It's matchmaking for donors, to be honest.
That's a great way to put it. What are the challenges that people don't see with, again, this nonprofit related work, the funding, the clientele, the sponsors? Like you said, it's a thankless job. What are some of the things that people don't see behind the scenes?
In the smaller and medium-sized organizations, there's not a lot of people doing a lot of jobs. So, you may be the events person and the communications person, and you're doing social media, and you're also doing sponsorship deliverables. And so how do you do anything proactively when you're constantly just trying to keep up with the incoming influx of all of those things? So, having a really sharp job description of what you need to do and what your KPIs are, like what your key performance indicators are. What should I be showing at the end of the month? Like, I've had this many meetings. I've had this many grant applications completed. I've had, I've had sponsorship deliverables, executed, or social media planning is done for the next month and a half or month. So I think that kind of helps. It's hard to be a leader in a small, medium organization because you're in the weeds with them. So it's hard to be up here being strategic and innovative when you're down here working on events and sponsorships, and because you don't have enough people, or the people that you have aren't in the right job. I'm not going to say they're not the right people, but they may not be in the right role that, elevates their strengths. So, I work with a lot of them now. I was one of them. I was a person in a small, medium nonprofit as the one person show with a support person who was doing all the graphic designing and social media posting and helping with a number of things, polishing those sponsorship decks, the case for support, etc. But I was doing all the jobs. And it becomes difficult to find, your new funders and bring people into the fold when you're constantly just trying to keep the wheel turning.
No, that's fair. Now let's get into the idea of obstacles to opportunities. How was that idea born, and how did you decide to proceed with it?
After being a nonprofit for about, it was probably 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years, quick math, between Canadian Cancer Society, Pathstone Mental Health, and the Hospital Foundation, I decided I kind of needed to sidestep from nonprofit. It was after COVID. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, but I knew I didn't want to do another whatever. Gala, direct mail appeal. I was getting to that familiar place again that I was in radio, where I'm like, I don't want to do another morning show, another whatever. So, and really it was burnout, but I wasn't presenting as burnout, or I didn't recognize it as burnout at the time. So I had an opportunity to join a company, private sector, out of town. And I'd met them 5 years ago, and we had done some projects together, and I liked what they were all about. They offered me a position that was non-existent, hadn't existed. It gave me a title, a bigger title. I'm not a title person, but it was kind of nice. The money was irrelevant because now I was going to be commuting a little bit, but I liked the project. And that's really what I've always been about, like that project. And I'm like, oh, I can do this and this and this and this. And it's pretty cool. I took the job, and it just wasn't a fit. It just didn't work. So I thought, well, what am I going to do next? The job ended in October. It was supposed to end in January. It was just a 1-year contract. So I had a couple of months on my hand to think about what was next. I missed nonprofit, but I also realized that I didn't want to work for one organization. My obstacle in my current job that I was in presented me with an opportunity to create something. So obstacles to opportunities was taking something that wasn't working, but had the bones to work. And putting it on a different road to become an opportunity. So obstacles to opportunities, it's about helping nonprofits solve what's keeping them up at night. And as I quickly learned, everybody has different things that keep them up at night. Some it's events that are just laying flat. For some, it's a fundraising plan and system, a donor stewardship, how do you steward your donors over the next 12 months? What are you doing with them to keep them engaged and in love with the work you're doing? Communications is a huge one. I like working with teams on communications plans, media training, getting them ready to give the best interview of their life on radio, TV, to the papers, etc., to be able to elevate the work that they're doing and become like the go-to expert in that space that they're in.
Yeah.
Every nonprofit has a uniqueness. Sometimes they get blurred. One food bank is different from another food bank, not just geographically, but maybe in something that they do. Let's talk about that uniqueness. Let's elevate your organization in that special way. So I've found immense joy in this space. I'm working with some amazing organizations, some that are children and youth focused, some that are mental health related, some are government relations positions, some are communications efforts, and some is plain old fundraising.
Yeah.
So it's been a really rewarding trip so far.
I can imagine. My God, your life seems to be so fun and exciting of different opportunities. But yet I continue to love that hustler mentality and the willingness to learn and sort of move forward. Talk to me about, so you have obstacles to opportunities. There's a lot of business that you're generating, but how does someone who's new to this, with very little funding, grow their business? I'm sure the first few projects could be hard to get, but then it's word of mouth, right? But what are different ways that you're utilizing to grow your business?
LinkedIn is really a great outlet, but I'll tell you, most of the clients I have, whether they're in Calgary or Hamilton, Toronto, or Niagara, have come through referrals. So people have either worked with me in radio or when I was at Canadian Cancer Society, which was across Canada, and I was the manager for major gifts for the national team. So I worked with every province. So again, these great relationships happened, and I was able to meet amazing people that I kept in touch with no matter what organization I was from. But when it comes to really elevating the business, I think you have to know what you want. So I was talking to the business coach right off the bat. He's from Halifax, smart guy, made me think, made me change strategies. I actually changed my whole website after one call with him. I'm like, I need to be more narrow and I need to just do mental health events because I'm really good at them. And then I thought, I don't want to just do mental health events. So I think you have to really know what you want to do and absolutely know what you don't want to do. I'm not interested in scaling this business. I don't want to hire staff. I don't want to have a big team. We talked about this. I turned 50 in a couple of days. So April's the month for me. So in my 50th year, or I guess I'm in my 50th year. Now I'm going into my 51st year. Oh boy. What does that look like? Do I want to spend more time with family and friends and have more of a balance? I mean, being in business for yourself, you're never going to quite have that balance. But I knew the things that you don't want, I think is probably most important before and don't try to be everything to everyone. I am not going to go work for a big, huge organization unless they just needed media training, something where I'm kind of in and out on that project. But for the day-to-day, I really want to help small and medium nonprofits get the skills and tools they need from me so that they can keep doing this work for themselves. They shouldn't need me forever. We can go from project to project to project and then off they go.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So you just talked about turning 50. Happy belated birthday. So looking back at your younger self, if you were to give her 3 pieces of advice or, write a letter to her, what would you tell her?
So in high school, I was like 76 pounds. Like I looked like a kid, like a little kid, not even a high school student. Braces. I cut my hair short and I have curly hair, which was like just a mistake. I was just little Kimmy to everybody. And that bothered me. It did. And then I realized now I'm like, maybe I just peaked a little late. Like, I'm fine with my like appearance now and how I dress and all the rest of it. But I felt really awkward in those years. I look at my daughter now and I'm like, I did not look like you in high school. Like not even a sniff. So like, don't get hung up on that stuff. I would have told myself like, it's not a big deal. This is, again, everything's temporary. This is just temporary. I did all kinds of other things to kind of make up for the fact I didn't look this way, or I wasn't the most popular. I didn't have all these boyfriends and the rest of it. Like I coached the cheerleading team. I was the smallest ones. I got to do the top of the pyramid stuff. I played hockey. I was on debate. I was on UN. Like I did all the busy stuff, not to fit in, just to keep going. So get involved, and stay involved. And I still am in so many different ways around the community and with different groups and clubs. Yeah, the boyfriends come, the looks come, like you find yourself later.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's 3 pieces of advice, but my daughter's way more laid back than I am.
Yeah.
I was a little more uptight.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, this is really good advice. If you were to look into your future, knowing all that you know now, what would you tell your future self, the 60-year-old Kim?
Oh gosh, that's only 10 years away now.
It's a long time.
My mom is just getting around to retiring now, and she's 72.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's gonna hate that I just divulged that. Sorry, Marianne. And she's just winding down.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's just winding down her business, actually, her own business. I don't know what I'd say to my older self. Like, I think I want to retire in like 5 years.
Yeah.
But not do nothing. Like just keep
going.
I've never had a plan. Like this was never the plan. Sitting here, like this is all happening because it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So there are times where I'd say like, if you just stay out of your own way, like continue to stay, like I tell my 60-year-old self, continue to stay out of your own way because it's working for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. What's next for you with opportunities, with your business, with just, like you said, you're just somebody that doesn't really plan things. As opportunities come, you kind of grab for yourself. But when it comes to obstacles, to opportunities, what do you have any vision for the next 5-10 years? If not, that's totally fine. But where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I continue to, take on new clients and kind of find the projects, help them solve the projects and problems that they're having. And I find great value and impact in that. And they are too, which is great because it's got to work both ways. I'm finding that the clients I have come back for the next project and the next one, which is always a great indication that the work you're doing is sound.
Yeah.
Because that's always, everyone has some self-doubt. Like they're like, am I really as good as I think I am at this thing? And then you're like, well, so-and-so told me. And I asked somebody once, how do you know you're a great fundraiser? Yeah. And they said, well, because people tell you you're a great fundraiser. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's enough, I guess. So, what's next to the business? I like the pace that it's going. I know what my capacity is. Like I've got a client that starts in June. So I'm not taking anything on that's new until after that one's done. Yeah. So it's a good, pace. And if I can get other people who are independently working in nonprofit, like someone's a grant writer, great. You want to do that work? I can refer you and you can get business to be a grant writer for one of my clients. That's amazing. Or I clean up data. Great. Well, I can refer you to one of my clients and you can work out your own contract. Like I don't want commission off of any of that kind of work because it helps them get to where they're going. And that's really, so that's my idea of scale. I'm not going to take on more clients more staff, but I am going to help people that are working independently, help those nonprofits that I'm working with.
Okay, that's fair. I always like to ask my guests, what legacy do they want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered? What is it that you want people to know about Kim and who she was?
Yeah, like it's never about like how much money. I've never been motivated by money. My partner says I'm for profit and you are nonprofit. Like that's our balance. But as far as legacy, so I've always exercised, and my daughter has witnessed it, and now she's kind of taken that up, and she does that, and it's healthy for her, but it's something she had to figure out that she wanted to do on her own. So lead by example for sure. That she led by example. That she helped always. So I get calls all the time. Like, can you spend 10 minutes on the phone with me to talk about this? Or I always give people a free call. Give them tons of advice and resources. They don't have to hire me. I'm happy to help them if it helps them get to where they're going. So that she always helped, that she always made time for me. Yeah. That's actually this piece that I'm wearing here. I had made for my daughter, my mom, and I, and gifted at Christmas. And the message behind it, so it's a sundial with the bent gold, and then there's a crescent moon in diamonds, and everybody's moon is in a different place that makes a whole circle. Yeah. And really the message behind it is I will always have time for you. Yeah. And so it'll become an heirloom piece in our family. My mom's will get passed to me, mine to my daughter, hers to her children, could be boy or girl, it doesn't matter. But that's my life. I will always have time for you.
Yeah. I love that. That's so beautiful. Kim, you look amazing. You carry yourself so well, and you just accepted on our podcast that you just turned 50. You don't look 50 at all.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the confidence that you carry, the way your health. You're a huge advocate for mental health, right? Mm-hmm. How do you keep yourself so fit while you're so busy running around doing all these 100 things?
I used to be a morning workout person. So 6 a.m. I was at the gym. Mm-hmm. I've been at a CrossFit gym for a really long time, 15 years or so. And I always said that I liked working out in the morning because nobody needs me at 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. Like I don't pay attention to the phone. I don't check messages. Nobody's needing me.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, my body did not want to work out at 6 a.m. anymore. Now, so that had to change. And now I go at 4 or 5 or 6 at night, just depending.
Yeah.
Still the same CrossFit routine, but it's my therapy. Mm-hmm. So I may not sit with somebody and talk to them, but for me, it's the only thing I do that I have to tune everything else out or else I won't do it properly.
Yeah.
So, and a regular gym where you're on a machine and then you take a break and you're back, I can't work with that. I'll check my phone. I won't stay focused, but in that environment, there's a warm up that we do as a group. There's a lift that we do as a group. And then there's a workout of the day that we do as a group.
Okay.
I'm in and out in an hour. I feel amazing. I'm pushed to my limits. Mm-hmm. Our coach will say, no, that's too light. You can do heavier than that. And they'll push you, but in a healthy, effective way. Mm-hmm. And for me, everything else falls by the wayside for that 1 hour. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's my mental health therapy. That's why, and working at Pathstone all the years that I did, 6.5 years, made me a better parent.
Yeah.
So, that mental health focus and the fitness, I'm sorry, and I feel like I'm talking a little bit all over the place, but those things kind of all contributed to kind of a healthy well-being. I think that's why, when you get fired, and I've been fired twice. Yeah. When you get fired, you can kind of bounce back and go, okay, that's fine. That's one job. That's one place. There's room for me elsewhere where I can bring my talents and my joy and my passions to some other organization. And maybe it's another company or maybe it's something you create on your own.
Yeah.
But for me, the fitness regime has been vital for all of that to be as successful as it's been.
That's fantastic. You look amazing. I always tell you that every time I see you. There are so many people out there that are killing it. There's so many women out there that are kind of going through a rough patch or a hard season right now. Being a woman in your 40s that's, experienced and evolved, what advice do you have for women out there that are going through a rough patch?
Yeah, I think it comes back to our earlier conversation. Everything is temporary.
Yeah.
And, Brene Brown famously talked about the messy middle. Like you have to get through the messy middle to get to the other side.
Yeah.
Everything is temporary. It is not always going to be like this. And in AA, they teach one day at a time, right? Like that's their mantra, I believe. And that's the other part of it. Like, just take today.
Yeah.
Don't be off in the sunset thinking about 3 years from now, 5 years from now, months from now. Let's just do today.
Yeah.
And if that, like I said, helps you drop your shoulders a little bit, then why not? Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I have so many more things I can ask you, but I want to move on to the fun rapid fire round of our podcast segment. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to share with the audience? Anything that I may have missed out on?
I don't think you did. I think I tend to take a question and go a little long with it. So
I think you did a great job.
I think we covered all kinds of great subject matter.
Awesome. So this is very, very quick.
Okay.
Quick answers that come to your mind. Don't take 5 minutes to think. All right.
Okay.
So this is the rapid fire round with Kim. All right. So the first question: big gala event or intimate dinner with 5 decision makers?
Intimate dinner. Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Leading the room or working behind the scenes?
Lead the room.
Lead the room. That's so you, Kim. Yeah. And I love that. And it's a compliment. Data-driven pitch or story-driven pitch?
Story always. Data feeds the story, but it's not the story.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Safe and steady or bold and risky?
I don't know. I'm steady, bold, I think.
I like that.
Bold. Yeah.
Okay. One powerful connection or 1,000 followers?
I think one powerful connection.
Yeah, I agree. Morning clarity or late night creativity?
Late night creativity.
I love it.
I dial in because everything else is done for the day.
Yeah.
So now it's just me.
Yeah. You and your thoughts, right? Control everything or trust the process?
Trust the process.
Amazing. Build fast or build right?
Build fast, but scale slowly, I guess.
I like that quality, right? Legacy or lifestyle?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think lifestyle. I think if you don't have the lifestyle, you can't leave the legacy.
Okay. Saying no or overcommitting?
Overcommitting. I've told myself at times, just can you sit on your hands in the meeting and not volunteer for anything? It never happens.
That makes sense. We're going to add something to our podcast. It's going to be called The Unfiltered Kim. This is exclusive to you. Wow. We haven't done it before. So are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Again, a few words, nothing fancy, just whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
One word people use to describe you that's actually wrong.
Oh, well, I don't know what they're saying. It's not one word. It's bull in a china shop that I got a long time ago. And I think it's just misinterpreted for energy.
Yeah, no, you have great energy and I love that. And for the kind of work that you do, I think it's almost required, right? You got to have that energy. That's what sparks the soul. All right. A belief you had 10 years ago that you completely disagree with now.
Well, I think always say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The hardest no you've had to say recently.
Oh, Devil Wears Prada, exclusive premier VIP, but it's actually on my birthday. Aww. And I'd be spending it with a friend, but also like lots of strangers.
Yeah.
So I picked the intimate dinner with my partner over that. And I love that movie.
That's amazing. Yeah, so, I love that movie too.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic. Not many people would be able to choose the quiet over the noise, right? So I think that's fantastic. Something that instantly drains your energy.
Paperwork. Yeah. Or policies or governance or procedure, like anything that is like paragraphs and numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that instantly lights you up.
I'd say like creative brainstorming sessions always.
Yeah.
Facilitate. Yeah. I facilitate with groups. So retreats, facilitation. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that too. Just a bunch of ideas coming together onto a whiteboard, right? A room you walked into that changed your life.
The Howie Mandel Gala that we did in, now the year's even escaping me. I should remember this, November 2023. Mm-hmm. Like that night was it was all of my work and the teams, but like my work personally culminating together to create such an extraordinary night. Like it's still like I see the sizzle reel afterward and it still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It was so just every single thing just went well.
Yeah.
And the impact was so massive. I like all of these low expectations, like, modest. And it like blew the roof off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I love that. Those are the things that keep you going, eh? A moment you felt, this is why I do what I do.
Oh, I left a retreat. And so it's this facilitation. We get great people in the room that are part of an organization that are, and let's talk about what the obstacles are and flip them to opportunities. And there were times where you're kind of like, I don't know, like if they're going to buy, like I'm in rooms with like multimillionaires that are on these boards and the rest of it. Are they going to like be into what I'm talking about here? And left the facilitation and they were like, that was incredible. I'm like, yes. Okay, great. So like that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I love that. I definitely see the passion that you have and it like lights up a room. So, I think being in your company for anyone is a treat because you have so much confidence, you have so much experience, and there's always a good story with experience and lesson that you can share. Every time I meet you, I learn so much from you. So if you weren't doing this work, what would you be doing now?
I lay on a beach somewhere. Beach tan laundry, the Jersey Shore way.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love a good beach day.
That's right.
Well, that was our Unfiltered with Kim and Rapid Fire Round. Like I said, I have so many things I want to ask you, but there's only so much time that we're allotted. I just want to thank you for your time, the opportunity that you've given me to sit down with you, to share your journey, your experiences, and for being so raw. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me in.
I'm so glad.
I've been watching for a while, and it was so great to meet you all those months ago. And we are definitely, we're friends. So
yes, for sure.
This isn't our last conversation.
Absolutely not. And for those of you that are watching, if you have any questions for Kim, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you next Thursday. Please don't forget to subscribe. Bye.